Like it's 5 o'clock here at the county seat. We are going to call our Wednesday, July 5th, 2023 commission meeting to order. And the invocation is going to be by Commissioner Bingham and the Pledge of Allegiance given by Fire Marshal Kevin Lloyd.
Heavenly Father, as we come before thee this evening to discuss the issues before Box Elder County, we're grateful unto thee for the opportunity to be involved in our local government. Grateful for the opportunity to live in a land of freedom and opportunity, and pray that thou will inspire and direct us to do those things which will help us to maintain those rights and freedoms, and to be able to do those things which are most beneficial for the people of the county. Thankful unto thee for the blessings we receive, for the multiple, the water that we receive through the winter, and for the mild runoff that we've had. It's helped us through those issues, and we're grateful for all the blessings we enjoy, and pray for thy Spirit to be with us this evening in this meeting. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, you guys. I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes from June 21st, 2023.
So moved.
Second it?
I got a motion by Commissioner Perry, a second by Commissioner Bingham. All in favor? Aye. Form of agenda items, administrative review reports.
Is this where you want to do your thing, boy?
Yeah.
Yes, I did want to do that.
You want to do Keith's and then do your
Yes,
presentation?
yeah.
That'd be cool.
So, last month, Keith Keller was the one who was awarded the Employee of the Month, and we didn't have an opportunity to present him with his certificate. So we'd like Keith to come up. And if there's somebody out there that has a camera, would you please take a picture? We want to make sure we have Keith's picture somewhere, so.
Get up here. No, get over here. Sean's jumping in. Well,
So, thank you. Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
you have 100% of your employees put you in for it.
I did write about a 15-minute speech.
Oh, good. You keep your thumbs down.
That's my time I use the gavel.
So one other thing, what you get for that is you get to go, it's your choice, either out to lunch or out to breakfast with you and your whole office.
Oh, cool.
Upon what you decide, you let us know. All of us will go, one of us will go, whatever we can, so.
Okay. Very good. Thank you very
That's
much.
awesome. Thanks, Keith. And then you've got something else, Commissioner?
Yes. Been a lot of discussion about water issues in the county. There is a stakeholder group that has met together a couple of times concerning the Area 29. We had a meeting last Thursday, and Teresa Wilhelmsen from, she's the state water engineer, was there with also, can't remember his name, the gentleman from Logan that heads the office over there. But anyway, it was interesting. Probably, Stan, you were there in that February 6th meeting when they came and we met down at Utah State. One of the things that she said there that I wondered about, she said, we don't want to make the same mistakes in Box Elder County which we have made in other areas of the state. And so last Thursday, when I was in that meeting, I asked her what those mistakes were. And she said the mistakes that the state has made is over appropriation of water. And she said not just a little bit, she said 3 to 5 times over appropriating of water. She said that there are areas of the state where senior water rights are soon going to be affected by the junior water rights. And when that happens, the junior water rights are shut down. And a lot of those junior water rights are individual homes on individual wells. So it's a big issue, and there has been some proposal in our local area through the Conservancy District to have a countywide master water plan. We've discussed that on that board. We've talked about getting the different players involved and getting them in the room and talking about the issues. And that hasn't happened. And so what I would like to propose is that the county kind of takes the lead of that. And we invite the people and we invite them to come here. And what I would really like, Marla, is if there's somebody in your office that could be here on a date when we could take minutes of that meeting, so we make sure that we actually remember what's discussed and said, so that we can kind of lead that discussion and make sure that we get input from all those that are participants.
Have you talked to Scott Lyons about this?
I haven't talked to Scott yet.
Because that would be something that his office would be, and then we could adopt it underneath our general plan.
Yeah. But I would gladly be there, and I would want to be there because I kind of would like to lead the discussion to make sure everybody had an opportunity to participate.
So you're saying like all water companies, all
Anybody.
agriculture, everybody that has any
Yeah.
districts and everything else?
I might add that part of the dialogue that's been going on is about water mitigation, meaning if you drill a well and you're taking water that would normally run into the Bear River and go to the Great Salt Lake, the governor has shut that off. And so the only way you can do that is if you mitigate it, meaning you have to have other water source to trade. So you trade culinary water for a different style of water that then could go to the Great Salt Lake. And some of the things that have been talked about is Bear River Canal Company shares being used that way. And in that meeting, it was discussed the fact that the Bear River Canal Company has contracts with other entities which preclude that from happening. And don't foresee that happening maybe in some of you who are younger, your lifetime, but certainly not in mine. So there are some issues that need to be discussed.
Okay.
So I was just wondering, commissioners, how you feel about that.
I think it'd be a good idea, but like I said, I think talk to Scott, make sure that his office is involved, because then we can just adopt those in our general plan, underneath our general plan.
Yeah, I'll talk to Scott.
Because we have transportation and everything else, drainage, growth, and that would be a perfect thing to be able to put into our master plan.
So as far as scheduling this facility,
Chris, you can do it.
Yeah, Chrissy can do it when she's back.
okay.
So
yeah.
will all three commissioners be here or more than one of you then?
More
So
than one,
we
probably.
Yeah.
You'd have to
post it as a
post it.
Special commission meeting?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, so if we can kind of figure that out, and we'll pick an agenda. I'm guessing somewhere about a month down the road so that we can make sure we can get everybody involved. And
Okay,
if we can do that.
sounds good.
Okay.
You
Thank
got anything else?
Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay,
You got anything else?
no, thanks.
Okay. Commissioner Perry, you got anything besides partying on the 4th?
Nope.
All the parties went without a hiccup?
Yeah.
Okay.
seemed to be Go out. Okay.
Nobody got hurt with the Sherp?
Well, actually, no, nobody got hurt. I will clarify, our state representative in House District 1 did get hurt yesterday.
Oh, really? Softball game?
Apparently, yes, the softball game, apparently he
How'd
got
they know?
hit with a bat and broke his jaw.
What?
So,
He called me, he was gonna come to the Honeyville parade, and then late in the evening, he said, I've got a broken jaw, I'm not coming.
yes, he got a little, I don't know what happened, but a bat hit him and broke his jaw, so.
Oh, that's
So
not
there
good.
was one, minor incident in the
One
county.
minor incident.
But, he'll survive, he's gonna be all right, we got a little picture of Tommy Boy for him now, so.
There you go.
Be drinking a lot of fluids for a while.
Yeah. Former agenda items, anything? No? Wildfire?
Sterling Marks isn't here, is he?
No, I haven't seen him.
That was the only thing.
That was the only thing we were gonna talk about? Okay. And we're good on emergency stuff, you guys?
You're doing, staying quiet so far.
Okay, good. ARPA, LATCFB, TIOU. Nothing new? Okay.
We just need to get a budget set.
All right. It's all to the attorney's office. Annie's not here. Are you taking over? Contract engineering capital defense council service has your name on it.
Yes, this is the one for,
You got to get up to your microphone. Sorry.
this
I've
is
been
the
told.
one for the,
Yeah, I can't hear you on the recording. recording.
on the meetings,
Is that okay now?
Yeah.
as long as you speak into your mic.
This is the one where the county participates in the Indigent Capital Defense Trust Fund.
Yeah.
Whenever we have a capital case, we do have a capital case now. As you recall, last session, we filed an application, you approved. This is the contract between that fund and the Defense Council. I've reviewed it, it looks good. So just need you to authorize it.
I make a motion that we authorize contract 2351 for the Indigent Capital Defense Council service.
Second it.
Motion by Commissioner Perry, second by Commissioner Bingham. All in favor? Aye. Keep going.
This one, it's my understanding that the recorder's office was gonna talk about this one. Is there somebody here to talk about it?
She's like, no.
I was here to support for if you had any questions. I wasn't,
So
but
my
I can explain
understanding-
it if
Annie
you want
worked
to.
on this, but I'll tell you the best of my understanding. This is an agreement between Box Elder County and
Manaway.
Manaway
Anyway,
to help them determine address locations within their city. And it's an agreement on how that's gonna be done.
Okay, any questions? If not, entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve interlocal agreement 2352 engaging Box Elder County Recorder's Office as the addressing authority for the town of Manaway.
Second.
I got a motion by Commissioner Perry, second by Commissioner Bingham. All in favor?
Aye.
Go for three.
Okay, this one has to do with updating the fees which the county attorney's office charges for discovery requests in criminal matters. We've changed our systems, which required some more fees as far as getting access electronically, and so this is just a resolution approving those fees.
Okay. Any questions? I entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the updated new fees for the access for the criminal discovery packets through Google Drive link resolution 2305.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Bingham and a second by Commissioner Perry. All in favor? Aye. Might as well top it off with number, however many we're at, 4.
You know, this one, it's my understanding that Annie prepared this basically for the
Oh, yeah.
commissioner's review, so I don't have a whole lot to say on it. This is one that you guys probably need to discuss.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually went through it after she sent it to us, and there is a couple things grammatically we got to fix in there, so I need to get back with Annie. There's a whole paragraph that refers to city government, not county government, so we got to fix that and make a couple other minor changes, but they're changes that have to happen for our box of rules, procedures.
Do we have to have them adopted by a certain date, though? So can we
don't
adopt
know.
them with those changes? This is coming from the legislature again, right?
Part of it is from the legislature, but I don't know if we have to have it.
I'm not aware of any.
I don't think there's a specific date. I think we can have it by next meeting,
Okay.
so we should be all right. There wasn't a specified date. It's just things that came out of the last legislative session that we were supposed to.
That's what I was just gonna say, because I thought that there was a date you had to pass it by for some reason.
I don't recall,
It's okay. We can just table it unless you wanna.
but like I said, I'd make a motion to table it at this
Okay.
time and bring it up for the next meeting, put it on the next meeting's agenda to get it fixed.
Okay.
Second it.
You got a motion by Commissioner Perry, second by Commissioner Bingham to table that agenda item. All in favor? Aye. And we're up to well, you know what? I'm gonna go back. Sterling, you're a little late, from administrative review reports and future agenda items. Do you wanna come talk to us a little bit about your budget? Sure. We can't do anything about it today, but we can listen to you and get on the agenda for next time, okay? State your name, who you-
Sterling Marks,
what you're here for.
Director of the Children's Justice Center for Box Elder County.
Thank you.
Just need to have a contract amendment with the state, where the state has increased the funding for our center. Now it's considered full center funding. We've been operating at a kind of a partial funding since becoming independent in 2020. So Tracy went and got the money, and so there's just an amendment that I need to turn back into them, showing that new amount that I've budgeted for. So
Okay.
that's all.
So you'll put that on the agenda for next time and we'll,
Yeah, we can.
okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
And
Guys got any questions?
the other item that I'll bring is, with that, I'm also going to increase the hourly rate for the contracted therapy hours that I help kids and families with. So I just need to have that signed as well.
Okay, do you want to put that on the agenda for next week? Marta said she will.
You
and-
send me the docs and I'll have them
Yep.
ready for them to sign.
Okay,
Okay.
appreciate all your work.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, Charlene, you want to bring the little guy down with the glasses with you and see what? Are you coming up? Bring your own chair. It's BYOC. Bring your own chair. Little smart guy. If you ever want to have anybody on your side, he's the one you want on your side when it comes to numbers, that's for sure.
Charlene Larson, County Auditor.
John Hatterley, partner at Larson and Company.
So we've completed the financial statements and the external audit for the year 2022, and I'm going to turn it over to John to give a review of that.
Okay. Just speaking to that mic like you like it, so everybody can hear.
Don't fall asleep.
I'm
This is going to be exciting
wide-eyed.
stuff. All right. So I'm going to start with our management letter. This is communication that we're required to communicate to you as a commission group at the close of our audit. I'm going to kind of skip around some sections. Our responsibility in relation to the audit, I'm not going to go over that. That's all in contained in the engagement letter. So that's the scope and timing and what we're going to do during the audit. That's why we have an engagement letter signed. Compliance with our ethical requirements. So that we just need to let you know that we are required to be, not only my team, but my entire firm has to be independent of Box Elder County in order to perform your audit. And that responsibility lies with me. So I as the partner, have to make sure that that independence is met. And if there's any threats to that independence, such as us assisting with the preparation of the financial statements, that's a threat to our independence. So I have to make sure that we have the controls in place internally to be able to do that, so then we don't impair our independence. So that responsibility lies with me, not with you as a commission group or Charlene's office. You guys don't have to worry about that. That's just things that I have to worry about. All right, significant risk. So this is a new thing that we're required to communicate, and we are, all of our audits are risk-based. So every balance on the financial statements and every note disclosure, we assign a risk. That has really very little to do with you as an entity. And I'll give some examples. So the significant risks that we identified: improper revenue recognition, cash disbursements, and potential management bias, financial statement estimates, and management's ability to override controls. So as I've explained this and I've presented this, everybody kind of freaks out and they have questions. What's wrong with us? Why do we have these significant risks? Well, if you consider financial statements, what our job is to make sure your financial statements are materially correct and that there's not misstatements being caused in the financial statements by different controls that are either not in place or misappropriation of assets, things like that. So for instance, cash, if we compare cash and capital assets, cash inherently, just by its nature, is easier to misappropriate. It's easier to take cash than it is to take this building, right? So fixed assets inherently has a lower risk, cash has a higher risk. So we have to do more testing over cash to make sure that it's being handled appropriately. And then we have overall risk of your entire entity. Improper revenue recognition, it doesn't matter what type of entity you are. This kind of came about with the fall of Enron and Arthur Andersen. What Enron was doing was manipulating revenue to increase shareholder wealth. So every engagement now, we have to recognize that as a significant risk. If we do not, then we internally have to document additional documentation of why we don't think it's a risk. Cash disbursements, you're dealing with public funds. The public should be transparent. They should be knowing how you spend your money, if it's being spent appropriately. Management's bias, financial statement estimates. We'll talk a little bit more about estimates, but the ability to override controls. We look at that because that's kind of a double-edged sword in internal controls. So Charlene has the authority to make a journal entry in the financial statement system. All of your financial statement system should be built on transactions. So as you assess tax, then that notice goes out and there's a receivable added to the books. And when somebody comes in to pay their property taxes, then you decrease that receivable, and you increase cash. So it's all built on single transactions that make up your financial statement system. If there's an error in the financial statements that needs to be corrected, or at the year end when you're closing your books, there's things that have to be adjusted. Those are not transactions. Those are done through journal entries, which is overriding the transaction control. So Charlene has to have the ability to do that, but with journal entries, you can also manipulate the system and then have false financial information. So with these significant risks, it means more to me as an auditor because I have to do tests specifically on these risks to make sure that there's not misstatements in the financial statements being caused by these risks. Does that make sense? So there's nothing that the county did specifically to warrant these significant risks. It's just that it directs our
Inherently,
testing
yeah.
on how much or how little we have to do.
Okay.
But based on our testing, you can, in the last line, we didn't identify any uncorrected misstatements that were caused by those risks. All right, accounting principles and practices. We look at how you treat the accounting principles, make sure that they're being done appropriately, that they're being, if there's anything new that needs to be implemented, like the new lease standards and now the new subscription-based IT, we're gonna make sure that the county's doing it appropriately, that that's being properly disclosed. Accounting estimates. Estimates are always built into the financial statements. Your asset lives, how long you depreciate things. If you have accounts receivable and you have allowance for doubtful accounts, that's an estimate. That's your best guess on how much you're gonna collect. One of the largest ones in your financial statements is gonna be the URS. That's really outside of your control, but anytime you deal with an actuary, it's estimates. The reason why we look at estimates is you can build bias into those estimates to make yourselves look better. When reality says it really should be this amount, and you're saying, well, we're gonna give a really good estimate and say we're gonna collect this amount of money, which makes your financial statements look better. So we make sure that your estimates are consistent over time. One of the reasons why you wanna have appropriate estimates is you're gonna look back over the last 4 or 5 years in order to make financial statements or financial decisions for the next 5 years for the county, right? Well, if you have big swings in your estimates, then you're looking at data that's going up and down, and you can't make good financial decisions in the next 4 to 5 years looking at historical data. So we just make sure that they're reasonable, that they're being done correctly, and that they're being done consistently. Significant difficulties encountered during the audit, we're just required to disclose if there were difficulties, but it went really smooth, especially for a first-year audit. Switching auditing firms is not easy on your staff because we're gonna ask for different things. They're getting used to our staff, we're getting used to the way you do things, and there's usually a little bit of additional work, but your staff, they were rock stars. We got all the information that we needed when we needed it. They were honest and open with, hey, you know, we don't know where this came from, let's look into it, and things got corrected. Uncorrected and corrected misstatements. If during our testing we come up with a different balance, we have to look at what you have versus what we've come up with and look and see if it's a material amount. If it's material, we will ask you to make that journal entry in the books. If it's a smaller amount, we'll actually accumulate those until they get to be material and then say, hey, you need to make these adjustments because if not, you're not gonna have a clean opinion. If it stays small, then you can make those adjustments or not make those adjustments. That's just the way auditing works. Sorry. But as far as I know, all the proposed adjusting entries that we had were made to the books. There weren't any disagreements with management that we need to talk about. Circumstances that affect the form and content of the audit report. So every audit report you look at is very standard. You have the audit opinion paragraph, you have our guidance paragraph, and we'll go through the audit report. But if there's anything that comes up during the audit that would change that report, i.e. a qualified opinion or a going concern issue, then those are the things that we are required to communicate with you. Representation letters. Gosh, I've got the worst frog in my throat. I'm sorry.
Just having your water, I gotta.
I've been drinking too much Pepsi today. Oh, thanks, man. All right, management representations, we're required to get a representation letter signed by management that they've been open and honest with any communication. Consultations with other accountants, if there is an issue arises or a disagreement, then you can go out and talk to a third-party auditor. Thank you. We just require that you communicate that to us, that you're talking to somebody, and that we also have access to that third party so that we can present our understanding of the guidance, and then come to a conclusion and finish with the audit. All right, I think that's all of this letter. So let's go to the stuff that you're excited about. All right, the audit report is always precedes the financial statements. Our opinion is an unmodified or an unqualified opinion. That's a clean opinion. I'm not really sure why we unqualify something but in our world, that's a good thing. The basis for our opinions, that's just our guidance, what we have to follow. We have standards that we have to follow, both generally accepted auditing standards as well as government auditing standards. Your responsibility is the financial data. So you're responsible for the financial statements and the disclosures that are contained therein. Another new paragraph that we're required to add this year is if during the year, if there's conditions or events that arise that would prohibit you from continuing as a going concern, you have to do internal analysis to figure out, okay, can we get over this and how are we gonna do it and continue on into the future. The best example I have for this for a government entity would be COVID. I hate that we all go back to COVID, but that's kind of the new timeline. That's our new BC to AD, right? At the beginning of COVID and when they were shutting everything down, there was kind of an uncertainty as to whether or not businesses were going to continue. And we had a lot of private businesses that didn't continue, and then attorneys and everybody else got upset because in their financial statements it didn't disclose, hey, we have this downfall because of this pandemic and we can no longer survive. We only have enough funds to survive for the next 6 months. And so it became an issue. So now, luckily in the state of Utah, most governments were able to kind of ride through that. We really weren't affected like a lot of the governments outside of Utah. But people weren't able to pay property taxes. You didn't get the sales tax revenue that you should have gotten, things like that. So that causes a downfall in revenue that potentially could affect you from continuing as a county into the future unless you got some other money infused in or you changed expenditures or things like that. So that's the analysis that you're required to do. So you have to look from a year to, when did we issue this? June 19th. So a year from June 19th, you just have to make sure, okay, yes, we're viable to continue at least for the next 12 months. Our responsibilities, we are required to exercise professionals' judgment and professional skepticism. That means that we can have a good relationship, but it has to maintain professionalism. That means that Shirlene can call me throughout the year and ask questions, and we can help her through issues. Stan can call me, Commissioner Summers can call me and ask questions. And as long as that relationship stays professional, then I'm in good standing as far as impairing my independence and then helping you guys out as a county. We have to look at your internal controls. We don't give an opinion on your internal controls like we do the financial statements, but we make sure that you actually have internal controls here and that they are operating. You can implement all the controls that you want, but unless you actually implement those controls and have them functioning, they're not doing you any good. We have to look at your accounting principles. We talked about that. And then we also look at any conditions or events during our testing that would prohibit you from continuing as a going concern as well. So that's another thing that we look at. Just remember there are certain sections of the financial statements. So the required supplementary information is the management's discussion analysis. And then immediately following the notes, there's a section that contains the URS information and some of your budget schedules. That is not audited information. That's not part of the basic financial statements, but GASB requires that it accompanies the financial statements. Let's see. Next report. All right, the next report we're required to issue is in accordance with government auditing standards. It just says that we know the standards, we followed them during our audit. Part of that is we look at your internal controls. If we identify any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses, then we're required to report those to you as well. But there's not anything that we're required to report as part of that report, so I'll just move on. The next one is for the state auditor, the state compliance audit guide report. So we were required to look at your budgetary compliance, your fund balance, justice courts, restricted taxes, fraud risk assessment, the government fees, cash management, tax levy recognition, Utah retirement systems, public treasurers, bond, and the Open and Public Meetings Act. So we look at your compliance with those areas. We also give an opinion on your compliance, which is an unmodified or an unqualified opinion, meaning that you were in compliance with all of those materially. I do have to put the caveat that this is very specific to these areas. This is not a legal opinion, and it's not your compliance with all of Utah State Code. It's very specific to these areas. There was one immaterial finding that we'll talk about, but other than that, everything was good there. Next report we're required to issue is for the federal government, so your single audit, your expenditures of federal awards, and it mimics the audit report, so I won't go through the whole thing, but we do give an opinion on each major program to make sure that you're in compliance with those. Every grant has their own set of compliance rules, so if it's determined that it's a major program, and that's kind of determined based on dollar amount. Sometimes, like the ARPA money, it was a new grant, and there was a lot of issues with it. I'm sure you've heard in the news that there's been a lot of fraud with the COVID money. That by itself kind of deems it high risk, and we have to test it as major. So there's certain things that we don't test every federal program that you have, but we go through a series of worksheets that tell us which ones we have to test, and if we get notified directly from those agencies, then we have to test certain grants. For you guys, the major program was the ARPA money. That was by far and away the largest expenditure you had as far as federal awards, so it kind of identified itself. But there were no issues and no federal findings that we were required to report back to the Treasury. Let's see. All right, findings. So this year there was one state compliance finding. Two findings, sorry. The first one was fund balance, and this is in the municipal services funds for the Class B road money. So what happened was there was a transaction that hit directly into equity rather than running through revenue and expenditures. And as we kind of dug into it, this is a pretty typical closing journal entry that you do to restrict that money, to show it restricted in the funds. And I could see where it had happened in the same fund. It was restricting the liquor funds and other funds. But this one transaction, it actually hit the revenue account. So what it was doing, it was taking it out of the revenue and putting it straight into equity, which it doesn't allow it to run through the P&L and then close out to the equity. It was taking it, basically it was under-reporting your revenue, but at the end of the day, it was showing the right equity, if that makes sense. Wasn't really a big issue, and we worked through it. And then the RDA P&G EDA fund, so that's a special revenue fund. It exceeded its budget. And Shirley can talk a little bit more about that. In the financial statements, it's grouped under one RDA fund. So if you look in the financial statements, the RDA fund itself is within budget. However, under state guidance, every RDA has to have its own revenue stream and expenditure budget, and you have to stay within budget for each revenue stream and expenditures. So even if you have, like in your financial statements, you've got 4 RDAs that are grouped together, each one of those have to be within budget of themselves. So that one just exceeded budget. I expect that that's gonna get corrected next year. No federal award findings, no internal control findings. So the findings for last year, I just have to go over those and let you know the status of those. Last year, there was one for trial balance. There were bank accounts, receivables, things like that were incorrect and that required material adjustments. When we got the trial balance today, or this year, everything seemed to be in order. There weren't the issues that you had last year. So that has been addressed and corrected. Bank accounts, last year there was a bank account in the sheriff's department that was, nobody else knew about it. So it wasn't being included under the county's books. But that's been taken care of as well. That is an issue, and it's kind of an issue throughout the state. And I'm not trying to knock on public safety, but they do have their own accounts, and sometimes that doesn't get communicated back. The problem is the treasurer is the one bonded for any public money that comes through the county. So if that's outside, then it kind of falls outside of that jurisdiction. So if there's fraud that's happening in that account, all of a sudden you can't be covered under your treasurer's bond based on that account because it's not flowing through underneath the umbrella of the treasurer. That's why that one was an issue, but that was corrected. Capital assets, I know that we talked about this a couple of times at different meetings. Some of the commissioners have come and talked to me about this. Last year, I know that there was some issues with capital assets. We got the capital asset report directly from the auditors last year and then compared it to what was happening in the system. And I think that Charlene and Nate spent a significant amount of time making sure that the system was actually operating correctly, and they made quite a few adjustments, but at the end of the day, they weren't material. So everything should be working smoothly from this point forward. So that was addressed and corrected. And last year, the TC 750 report didn't match what was reported in the financial statements, and I think there was actually errors in the TC 750. That was addressed and corrected. And then last year, part of your federal award findings, you gave out microloans with the coronavirus money, and part of that requirement is that you monitor the subrecipients, so you have to know how they're spending that money, and that process is not happening. You didn't give it any microloans this year, so it really wasn't an issue this year. However, we did make sure that there are controls in place that you are now monitoring if that happens again.
And it
So
won't. No more microloans.
that's all I had. So I don't know if you guys have any questions.
How do you see our fund balances going forward? That's one thing we questioned about. Some of the things were being moved from place to place to make fund balances, back in 20, whatever it was, to make it look good. So how's everything now?
They're all positive, so that's what I care about. I don't want to see you guys go into a deficit. And you guys, I know you're going to talk about LATCF funds,
Yeah.
but their primary purpose is to kind of put stability. There's a lot of counties that they see that as free money. It's really frustrating for me seeing that side of it. We deal with really, really large entities that are getting some of that LATCF money. And when COVID came out and they started that first tranche of money, it was very restrictive. You have to spend it on this, and you have to have documentation on how is this going to relate to the pandemic. Right. And then ARPA money came out, and it was loosening the restrictions. Now you can do infrastructure. Now you can do this and this and this. You can do microloans. You can do different things. And now with the LATCF money, it's basically wide open. The only thing you can't do is you can't use it for lobbying. So a lot of counties are thinking, hey, this is free money. We're going to spend it however we want. But the real intent is really to build up a stabilization fund because there's going to be lean years in the future. So my recommendation is get a stabilization fund in place, and then if you have extra, use it how you wish. But as far as fund balances go, maintain your minimum fund balance in the general fund. Make sure that that's happening because that's kind of a little bit of a stabilization in the general fund. All of the other funds had a positive fund balance. And you're going to have to shuffle money around from time to time, right? There's going to be issues. Just make sure that you're not robbing Peter to pay Paul, right? You don't want to take too much out of the general fund or somewhere else to cover for misspending elsewhere.
Well, like I said, we've done a good job of keeping out of debt. So,
Yep.
okay.
Well, and our employee expenses will probably go up this year as well because I know from the benefits side, we're probably going to see an increase from PHP. Most likely that will get passed through to us this year, so we need to be thinking about that.
Okay.
Yep. So we had a really good time working the county. I really appreciate the staff that you have here. I know us coming in, we really kind of grilled them and made them work. So it was nice, especially as the partner getting information back from my staff. It's really frustrating when I hear from my staff that they're not getting information. It actually raises the fraud risk in my mind because if you're not able to provide the information,
What's
then
going
my
on?
mind's going, okay, I teach enough classes on fraud that that's just the way my mind works is, do you not have the information? Or are you trying to change the information? Or are you trying to recreate the information? So it's really nice when we have all the information that we need. We probably could have issued this audit 2 months ago, but because it was a new audit, we were doing a lot of setup, a lot of additional procedures, a lot of grilling, a lot of
Especially for your
walkthroughs.
first, basically your first,
So
second year, I guess, now.
I expect next year it'll go smoothly.
You guys got any other questions?
Nope.
Do we need to make a
Appreciate
motion
it.
to accept this?
Accept it.
Okay. I'd entertain a motion to accept it.
Make a motion that we accept the audit as presented to us.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Perry, second by Commissioner Bingham. All in favor? Aye. Thanks for all your hard
Everything
work, you
should be
guys.
sent to the state, so the state has everything, and the federal government, they'll get theirs. I think
Okay.
we're gonna upload it tomorrow, so.
Thank you. We appreciate all your hard work.
Thanks, John.
See you next year. Or before. Yeah. Animal Control Services.
Kevin Potter, Sheriff. Kay Palmer, Chief Deputy. We're here to talk about the animal control agreement we have with Brigham City. As you guys know, we don't have an animal control shelter as the county. We have an agreement with Tremont and Brigham City, and they're asking us to sign their yearly thing. There's discussions behind the scenes about trying to get some more room in the county, and that could happen a variety of ways. But in the meantime, we need to sign that agreement. It's not, in the past, it's been the same. This has some minor wording changes in it, and then it's got to change to the amount, and that we get charged. And they pointed out it's been 19 years since they raised the fees. So the fees raised, depend on what it is. Kate can get into the details if you want to, but roughly 130, 150% increase, depending on what it is. After 20 years, I think that's more than fair. And again, we need the beds. We don't have enough
Well,
other options
when
anyway,
people hear
so-
that 100% increase, but 100% of what? So it went from what to what? So people understand that.
Well, their boarding was $5
Okay.
a day, went to $12 a day.
That's what I was
So
gonna
that's
say.
140%. The biggest would be for quarantined animals. Those are ones that we seized, whether they're aggressive or not. That was a standard $75. It went up to 210. So that's the biggest increase, 180%.
Okay. I was just making sure everybody knew that when they heard that.
With this contract, would the county be on the hook if we were to pick up an animal in, say, Elwood, Honeyville, somewhere like that, and we were to bring it in?
So this contract this year, they used the same terminology as they did in the previous contracts, and that's the county will only be billed for animals surrendered by county officials. So in order for that to happen, a deputy would have to respond to the animal shelter and actually cut a county case number for the sheriff's office.
So the reason I'm asking, so if that's the case, because we do Elwood, we do, we've got not Southwood, but Willard, we've got Corinne, Honeyville. So we've got these communities that we respond to. And if a deputy was to respond and pick one up, are we going to be on the hook for it, or are we going to send a bill? Is there a way we can?
When we respond to those communities, we contact their city councils and their animal control to handle the situation. So moving forward, we could just send out a reminder to our patrol guys that this is for unincorporated, or probably those ones, without the city councils, right? So
Yeah, usually the municipalities have their own agreements.
Right.
So if they bring one to Brigham City, then they have to pay.
part of the confusion is somebody comes in, we call Corinne and West Corinne the same thing. They say they're from Corinne, they say they're from Honeyville, and they're actually outside the city limits, but everyone calls it Honeyville. So that's causes confusion in the past, In a perfect world, we would know if city limits is the cities, but there certainly has been issues come up. Brigham City, if they come in and say they're from, Honeyville, that often that causes the problem.
So you ready to pass it tonight, or do you want to put something in to say about maybe an address?
I'd like to just verify with our county attorney. I mean, have you seen it? I know.
Yeah, I've looked at it. There's a few things that I'm just not sure. If you look at the third whereas paragraph, It says the county desires of entering into an agreement whereby the city may determine how many municipalities it will be providing services for. I don't even know what that means.
I know that they sent the same agreement to like Bear River and Corinne, because when they sent it to us, they actually put the wrong cover letter on it for Bear River City. So I know that they are sending this agreement out to our incorporated cities within the county. I'm not sure exactly which ones, but I know Bear River is one of them, and I think they mentioned Corinne.
So if everybody's comfortable with the fees and everything, I would say maybe we just clean up the language a little bit and then adopt it if everybody's okay with that. I don't know if there's a deadline we need to get this passed by or.
The term is just, we're out of contract as of July 1st, so.
So what does that mean, that you have no service as of July 1st?
I don't think they'd refuse a service, but we just don't have a contract until.
So
this
I'd-
And we have a little leverage with Brigham City, you know?
Well, I think Brigham City has a little leverage with us. We really don't have other
I'd
options
entertain a
right now.
motion to do it pending legal. I think we'd be able
If
to
we,
do that.
if we made a motion to accept it with the fees,
Subject to.
giving the opportunity for our legal to make the changes
Yep.
to the contract to send through.
Perfect.
Is that, okay, I'll make that motion.
Second?
Got a motion by Commissioner Perry, second by Commissioner Bingham. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. I think it's the Scott Lyons show, isn't it?
Actually, got this
Oh,
other one.
indigent-
Just so you,
indigent defense.
I can talk about this. next
Indigent burial, okay.
So we have one request for an indigent burial request that we need to approve. So I'd make a motion that we approve the one indigent burial request that we've received.
Second?
I've got a motion by Commissioner Perry and a second by Commissioner Bingham. All in favor? Aye.
So,
You want to put in the amounts?
It's
Yeah, it's for $1,200.
$1,200.
Yes, to take care of this burial.
so everybody understands that, what that is, maybe?
Well, we've done it before, but what happens is if there's somebody that passes away in the county that has no next of kin, they're called an indigent. And every time I say that word, I want to say indigent defense for some reason. But they do everything they can to find next of kin or property or anything like that to be able to sell the barium. And when not, then it comes back to the county and whoever mortuary they use comes and we pay up to, well, it's up to $1,200, but $1,200 is pretty cheap anymore, so, especially because the state just upped their services to $250 just to do the paperwork, so I think they're losing money, but anyway, that's kind of what it is.
Yep.
Okay, Scott. I think it's the Scott Lyons show the rest of the time. And Scott, I don't think you were in here when Commissioner Bingham was talking about a water plan, a water meeting that we can, I don't know if you want to just say top, I
Yeah,
don't think you
so-
were in here.
So you've heard about the master water plan for the county?
Correct.
We've talked about that, but we're not really making any headway as far as getting the major players together in the same room and talk about it.
Okay.
So I propose that we have a meeting right here where we can get all the people together and have an open discussion about the whys and the wheres and all of that. And like to have you involved.
Okay.
Is there a date? I guess really the date we're talking about would be with you and Marla.
Yeah,
I was thinking maybe, I mean, it's pretty tough. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays through the county are all busy. I hate to do it on a Monday night.
let's do it Sunday and get out of church.
Great turnout.
Just kidding.
You don't know my life. Yeah. Okay. So I'm thinking like a couple hours, 7 to 9.
Yeah,
I was wondering maybe like about the 14th of August.
I may be out of town.
and I think you better put some parameters on things too when you're talking
You
about
want
the
to just have
meeting.
Christie put out a doodle poll for
Yeah.
a lot of these folks to see which is the best day to have it in August?
Yeah, well, that
Yeah,
would
do you
be-
know who you want involved?
I think anybody that has water rights. So most of that would be municipalities, but there are some individuals that have water rights too, like Yukon Water, you know,
Yeah,
Acme Water,
so basically the players,
Yeah.
and maybe it
then-
might even,
we can
Be
adopt it to our general plan after it's done, but I
Well,
think you need to have some parameters on the meeting too about who speaks, how long they speak, because
Yeah.
if this could be a,
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, we have to adopt something into our general plan, I think, by December
right,
of either next year or the year 2024 or 2025, we have to have a water element to our
Right.
general plan, which
oh,
this would
So it's coming down the pike.
fulfill that requirement.
Okay.
So I don't know if you've talked to Carl at all, where you're on the board at the Conservancy District. But-
Yes, I have many
Yeah.
times, and it's not really getting traction. That's why I'd kind of like for the county to kind of take the lead.
Okay, because I know Carl and me, Carl, who else? Honeyville's mayor.
Oh, yeah, on that, I can't remember the name of the board, yeah?
Yeah,
What are you talking about?
West Corinne's West Corinne Water Company president. So we kind of had a group that went to a water conference up in Logan for 3 days about 2 weeks ago, and kind of discussed this same issue. And the discussion is how to get all of those different players on board. Anyway, yeah. So some gears are in the works currently.
Okay.
But I think that's great. Will be fantastic to have your support and keep that progress going. So, yeah, let's work on scheduling something. Do you want me to get with Marla or with Chrissy and
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, and I don't know, anybody's recommendation on how to reach out and get everybody together would be marvelous.
Okay.
I'm not techie, so,
Okay.
Sure.
I'll keep
right.
you updated.
okay, thanks.
All right, what do we have? First one is okay, we've got the Chloe T. Anderson subdivision. This is just a one-lot subdivision. It is located at 12173 West and Faust Valley Road. So out there just west of Bothwell. I don't think Bothwell officially claims this area. So.
No. Good thing. Just kidding.
It's a 2-acre lot, and it has been through the review process. All applicable staff have reviewed and approved it, and comes with a recommendation of approval.
If no question, I entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion and we approve the Chloe T. Anderson subdivision as recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Second.
I've got a motion by Commissioner Bingham, second by Commissioner Perry. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And the next one.
I always like the names.
Yep. Daddy's Acres subdivision, phase 2. This one is in the Riverside area, so it's 16,436 north and 6,000 west. It's a half-acre in size, and this one as well has been through the review process by all applicable staff and comes with a recommendation of approval.
If no questions, please entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve Daddy's Acre subdivision phase 2.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Bingham, second by Commissioner Perry. All in favor? Aye.
All right.
Snowville Corridor Preservation Funds, unless you want to just keep going with your
We'll just
Beckham's.
change, yeah, we can change gears. We'll follow the agenda.
Okay.
So this one is a request for reimbursement from Snowville for Corridor Preservation Fund project CPF 20-01. So they requested funding for a stoplight there at the main intersection, only intersection in town. So they are requesting, they've had the vast majority of the work done. I think they've got a few things to button up, but at the time they're requesting a reimbursement of $54,723.82. We reviewed all the invoices submitted for the amount requested, and everything looks good. I think they've got maybe $10,000 of work wrapped to wrap up as far as that intersection goes, and they'll submit that as soon as that's done. So this project was approved by the COG and County Commission back in 2020, and they basically have 3 years to substantially complete the project. So they are just slipping in.
So, am I missing something? I drove through that intersection. I didn't see anything like that.
How long ago?
It's just
Last
the
week.
sides. I think the sides of I think the electrical and stuff has been done.
Yeah, I
And
think
that's about it.
my understanding based on the invoices is that they've got, the electrical done. They're working on just like the curbing where they'd have the posts put in place.
Huh? I must not be paying attention.
Wrong intersection.
There's only one.
I know, I'm just kidding.
Huh.
I'll be out there tomorrow night, I'll look.
Okay. I entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the corridor preservation fund Snowville project reimbursement.
I'll second it.
Got a motion by Commissioner Bingham, second by Commissioner Perry. All in favor? Aye.
And, okay, we've got the Beckham's Edge subdivision.
Did they ever get water, or are they still just on wells? Do you know?
So phase 1 of this is on water. Phases 2 and 3 are on wells.
Okay.
The developer has extended and will continue to extend West Corinne water infrastructure throughout the subdivision. So when those water connections become available, that's kind of the issue. Is there's
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, there's such a backlog of connections that basically when connections become available,
Then
they'll
they'll
be in front of their
expand.
homes and they'll be able to tie into it.
So Scott, is this for West Corinne Water?
Correct.
Yep, it goes right past them.
So the meeting that I was at last week, they said that there were 25 different connections that were approved by the West Corinne Water. Is that some of these? Or?
I don't think so. There's a backlog of
There's a
probably,
backlog of about 400 people.
Oh.
Yeah.
So they're gonna, when I talked to Steve Norman, it sounds like they're gonna be moving out new connections in about chunks of 25.
Oh.
But it'll take them a while to, work through all of that.
Oh,
So,
okay.
so these will become available at some point if the property owners desire to connect at that point. I guess I should say the benefit to the developer installing that infrastructure is that will be available to them, for one, and two, that there are hydrants throughout the development so that water suppression or fire suppression is there for the homes that are constructed there. But yeah, he started this process before West Corinne had finalized all of they just had the hold going and hadn't started selling them additional shares in 20, chunks of 25 shares. So.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
So anyway, this is phase 3. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 6 lots is and some new infrastructure. So along with this development, there is an improvement agreement and an escrow agreement. There is one edit to that improvement agreement. Steve caught this, and anyway, it is on page 18 of the improvement agreement, and it's just a date. It's part of the escrow agreement. Basically, it just gives the developer 1 year to start the improvements and 18 months to complete the improvements. And the date of completion on the agreement states January 5th of 2023. It should read January 5th of 2025. So if you choose to approve it, the motion, if you could include that modification, and we'll make sure that gets taken care of.
Okay.
As far as everything else goes, it's been reviewed and approved by staff and comes with a recommendation of approval.
I entertain a motion with those things adjusted.
I make a motion with the adjustments discussed.
Okay.
Second.
Do you want to do specifics, or are you okay with that on those?
On the we'll make a motion for the Beckham's Edge subdivision phase 3 with the changes.
Okay.
It's been mentioned here. Is it just date changes, right?
Correct. In the improvement agreement, just date changes.
Agreements, yeah.
Thank you. I got a motion by Commissioner Perry and a second by Commissioner Bingham. All in favor? Aye.
The final item is the Hurd subdivision, and this one, we were begged to place it on the agenda. I know that their engineer is here. To be completely honest, I couldn't tell you the address off the top of my head, but I don't have a plat at
Plenty of
this
room to
time.
write.
What's that?
There's plenty of room to write up there, so.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you the address off the top of my head, and that's because partially I don't have a plat. It's still in the review process.
Oh, okay.
So what happened on this one is it was originally done as an agricultural subdivision.
Oh.
So it's a 12 .2 something acre agricultural parcel that's being converted from ag to be able to build a residential home on it. We said, okay, we're close, we'll put it on, but the likelihood of it being ready in such a short amount of time isn't likely. So that's where we're at. If you're comfortable approving it, that's fine. I would lean towards pushing it to the next meeting. I think it's a slippery slope if we start approving things that are still in the middle of the review
Well,
process.
if it was closer, I think I'd have a okay with that, but if it's not that close,
Yeah.
I think we should just table it.
Yeah, so
I don't know what you guys think.
that's kind of where I'm at.
I think that they can go back to, I think that we need to finish with our planning commission.
So this one doesn't go to the planning commission, it just
Okay.
comes.
It's agriculture,
Yeah,
comes
where
right to
it's-
us.
Where it's just one lot, it skips
Okay.
the planning commission and
Comes
comes
to
straight
ag.
here to kind of accelerate
But if
that
we can have it by
process.
next meeting, there's no reason to do it today.
But I think for sure in 2 weeks, it'll be ready.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, we'll just table it.
So,
Do you need a motion to table it?
No,
I'll just postpone.
we'll just postpone it.
Put it on the next
Put it on the next agenda. Thanks. Do you want me to sign all that stuff now, or do you want to wait? Do
what's that?
you want me to sign all that stuff now, or do you want to? What do you want to do?
I'll let you, well, I guess we're at the end of the meeting, or you got a few other things?
We've got an RDA in closed sessions.
Okay.
We gotta sign it now.
Okay, we'll sign it now.
Don't fall down.
I'm gonna make the same money from. You have stickies over there?
Yeah. Still that sticky.
That's Steve. Good grief.
Right in the middle. I like those. They're better. My hand's not falling off. Sorry, I have to write like sideways. I don't know why.
You want Steve to sign this?
Get my new pair of pen out. Steve, do we have to go into our RDA to go into an RDA closed session? Have to go into our RDA and then go to our RDA closed session? Okay.
Is yours RDA, right?
No, his is not.
So we can, whichever close one you want to do, I guess, whichever way you want to go.
Same.
You might try that same
Is your closed session?
Oh, yeah.
date on
Oh, it's just Steve? Okay.
Just on the most recent one.
Yeah.
I noticed while we were sitting here, we had our newest deputy walk in here on all fours. If you want to bring him to the front, we'll say hi to, and I'm not even, do you guys know his name? Her name?
I actually saw it on the
Azula.
Ula?
Azula.
Azula. Check this out. Oh, yeah, stop and sniff that. Please. Yeah, don't stop her. Check this out. Uh-oh.
She's here to work.
That's where I sat during the murder trial. He's probably sniffing all over there.
Well, if he sits down, we're gonna have a conversation.
This is Azula, Belgian Malinois.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So she's about 16 months old now.
16 months.
And her and Deputy Aura just finished their narcotics training last week. So
Wow.
her first patrol shift was Monday night. We're excited to have her. It's been about 3 years since the sheriff's office had a
Did-
canine since we
Did
were
I
in
just,
Colorado.
did I just see you by Ridley's yesterday or today? When was that?
No, that wasn't me.
Oh,
You trained her without marijuana, right?
Correct.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
I was gonna say, that seems to be the new world that we're in.
Yeah, she'll ignore that. so.
Good.
So she combined us heroin, methamphetamine, MDMA.
Yeah.
What's the fourth?
Cocaine
Cocaine.
and mushrooms.
And mushrooms.
Yeah, and that's what we approved.
Also,
her
she
to
doesn't
play.
deal with ibuprofen.
that's just,
Cool.
They did absolutely terrific.
And is she's not she's drug dog, but not patrol dog, or is patrol?
Just detection.
Just detection. Yeah.
And as soon as they have a tracking school, we'll send her to tracking.
So she'll do tracking as well
You
as.
know, not just tracking bad guys, but tracking like lost people too.
Yeah,
So
so she
Oh, that's
doesn't,
cool.
so she won't bite or anything like that. How does she indicate?
Sits.
Sit, okay.
sitting though? Is she sitting behind me? I'm a little nervous.
Yeah, she's sitting down right now, Stan, what's up?
I thought I was the all-you-can-eat buffet.
Sweetheart, huh? Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Nice.
Thanks.
Thank
Thank you.
Did you pick her out?
Sniff Boyd.
She already did.
So do you want to go into RDA?
Yes.
Do that, then their closed session, then come back in and do the, that's what I'm thinking that would be the best. flow.
Probably the
That's
best
what I
flow,
thought.
yeah.
Okay. All right. I'd entertain a motion to go into RDA.
I make a motion to go into the RDA session.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Perry, second by Commissioner Bingham. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, give me just a second.
I know we're gonna do